do you think long-term fans are going to be the most excited to see in Saw X?
The return of John Kramer. Not only is he back, but he's everything. He's the center of this film, and Tobin did such a great job really inhabiting this character.
There are a lot of surprises, as you know, at the end of the movie, so it's going to be pretty excellent.
Let's go, man. I love to hear that. I love to hear about that twist ending surprise, and to love that that's still a big portion of what makes a Saw movie just makes me even more excited. Oh man, it's so close. I can smell the popcorn. I can taste the soda. I can see the people.
We come to this place for a reawakening.
So we definitely want to get straight into the comments, because you guys always leave me some amazing comments. Beyond just responding to the comments, I actually want to bring up a question. Who is the smartest character either Jigsaw's interacted with in general or has tested? And that's going to culminate the video as the actress who plays Cecilia Pederson, who's the main doctor in the Mexico operation scam. She alludes to battling Kramer's work, battling his philosophies. And that sounds very interesting. And I wonder what other characters either had the opportunity or had the intellect or had the wherewithal to even battle Kramer at all, you know, in terms of his actual work. And when you can attack someone's work verbatim and use your own philosophies to try to, you know, seep in some doubt, that's going to be very interesting to see if we see that culminate in this movie. But that's for later. Let's get straight into these comments. First of all, I want to appreciate everyone who comments. And let's get straight to it. Uniquely Mario. He commented, the producers and directors said all the things left unclarified will be answered in Saw X. I think even Hoffman's fate. So they are cutting through time. These people he is testing has connections to what leads up to Logan and the guy in Spiral. So what I wrote was they have ideas for where to take the story and potential Saw 11, according to producer Oren Cools. We're kind of superstitious. We tend not to get too far ahead of ourselves. The movie's going to be released in a few days. For us, we do have ideas for the next one. We haven't put pen to paper. So having said all of that, Uniquely Mario must be right that it incorporates the entirety of the franchise in some way. That cutting through time tag sticks out like a saw blade, and it really makes you think that it just won't be placed in between 1 and 2, that at some point in the movie. I actually just saw on Twitter that there's supposed to be a post-credit scene. Even if Saw X is in between Saw 1 and 2, the post-credit scene can very much be Hoffman's still alive, or he survived it. We see a glimpse of the bathroom, and that's what we saw a glimpse of in the trailers, maybe. But I do love this notion that it all comes together, so that's why I brought that up in my last video. And Uniquely Mario's right on the money when it comes to, it seems like these producers and directors, they're alluding to big surprises and it being a Kramer movie. And the fact that they're even teasing the Saw 11 must justify the fact that Saw X incorporates everything. So we'll see. We'll see. Thank you again for that comment. That's awesome. Leticia, she comments, just discovered your channel and making my way through all your Saw content. I love your in-depth takes. Also, I can totally see them incorporating Spiral into Saw X, making the kid be Will. It would be such a smart way to wrap it all together. I'm really excited for the movie. Reaction. Thank you, of course. Thank you so much, Leticia. I really love that you commented. I love your support. And I do believe what you're saying could be very much correct, right? Just like I mentioned, other people have mentioned this. More behind-the-scenes footage has shown Kramer in a park with a book. Could indeed be William as a child. And a sketchbook would make sense with Kramer's art talents. I'm not too sure if this was something he always did in his adolescence or growing up, or did he take it up after retiring from his career in engineering. But he definitely just found a fixation of drawing art. Clearly, sometimes art can be a reflection of one's psyche. I guess the only hole in that idea is, how do you justify Kramer giving a book to a child, right? And a parent would see that and look at the sketchbook and assume, what the hell are you giving my son dark sketches of traps? And you don't know what he drew in there. Maybe he drew pictures of Billy. Maybe it's not the Billy we got to see later as he was Jigsaw. I'm actually referring to the baby version of Gideon. Maybe he showed him some sketch work that he was supposed to give to Gideon, and he gave to that kid. So I'm sure he wouldn't have give Gideon some blood-soaked photos or anything that alludes to death and traps and things of that nature. But maybe that spiral symbol, Billy the puppet, etc. He would have passed on some of that symbology to this kid if he did give him a sketchbook, and that would have seemed a lot more justifiable. Like, oh, here, look, I'm an artist. I like to, or like, this is my hobby. I like to make. All right, here's a picture. Maybe he ripped it from the sketchbook and gave him a page from the sketchbook. That's what we'll ultimately see. So thank you again for that comment. Now we're up to Denzo X2688. He writes, my theory, the line from Hoffman, out of all the men to cheat, you pick John Kramer, goes to Amanda for finding out she didn't kill Adam. Just before he died, she was swayed by her emotions and stopped the choking and gave him a way out. During this conversation with Amanda, Hoffman realizes that he must also prepare for the worst case scenario. By cheating, he prepares himself for the case of being tested in the bathroom. We will see how he does this in the film. However, he survives. With Saw X, two questions would then be clarified. Adam lives, Hoffman lives. Everything revolves around the cheating. I wrote, I like how you were thinking. That would definitely be awesome because most people, including myself, have thought that line to be referring to those who have scammed Kramer. Kramer could be finding out about Amanda's and Hoffman's potential scams, and that connects to the overall theme of the trap and of the scam operation in Mexico. Because ultimately, that's what Amanda and Hoffman were. I'm not entirely sure if Kramer was a little deluded to expect Hoffman to do any better, because it was a little bit of blackmail for the reason that he was there. So I'm pretty sure Jigsaw always had that in the back of his mind, that Hoffman could turn and have something, hence why he had that contingency plan with Dr. Gordon all set in motion even after his death. That clearly meant he had reasons to doubt that Hoffman would do his job without corrupting his legacy or going a bit further or taking it in a personal way and tarnishing what Kramer's work was all about. So I love this comment. We do not know who he's talking to, and depending on who he's talking to, this line could mean a bunch of things. So that's a great way to bring this up. Hoffman could very well be alive, and the fact that he's been hush-hush, we haven't seen him, they haven't shown him in any further trailer, they haven't shown him at all. He's not in the promotion, even though I know we're in a strike right now, so they're not allowed to promote it. But if anything, that helps the secret stay secret, and that's what's ruining a lot of comic book projects, especially Marvel projects. People love to gain clicks on a spoiler, so let's keep these secrets, man. No spoilers. And actually, one of these comments I do want to say could be potential spoilers in the way they wrote it. In the end, it kind of gives me like they were just confidently stating their theory, but just I'm gonna tell you when is a potential spoiler, so you could skip through that part. Now to respond to Jason Barker 8266, thank you so much. Look, Amanda is dead and Jigsaw is dead, but alive in this timeline. But I think the house could be found and Hoffman is alive. There's rumors with photos that another actor is playing Adam, but not sure what that role will be. He's a corpse, as we saw in Final Chapter. But I will say this. If you look at his corpse in Final Chapter, the shot wound is near the chest on his white shirt, not the shoulder. So that's odd. And the chain is on the wrong leg. Look back at it. Trust me. I've seen a bunch of people mention this. And hey, if it was an error, it wasn't John Kramer who did it. So you can rest easy. You can admit it. No matter what, I'm a Saw shield myself. I got Saw tatted in the back of my neck, like Xavier. If I need to cut it out, like Xavier had to cut out the numbers, I'll do it for y'all. But yeah, we gotta admit that sometimes errors could happen, man. So we don't know if that's an error, but if they somehow can incorporate that into the story itself, shit, Saw could do it. If anything, Saw creators are the masters of putting themselves in a corner and somehow getting themselves out of it, just like some of these victims when they get out of a trap, which is a cool analogy when you kind of think about it. And just to respond to the Adam theory, the guy we have seen in the behind the scenes footage, because I know exactly who he's referring to, is obviously another person that we saw in the photo. Same, but he had Adam's outfit, so it clearly was a person either who's gonna play Adam shortly after, Amanda had just quote unquote killed him, right? Or that could just be someone who's standing as his stunt double. That's not actually an actor that you would see play out in the movie. I don't know how I feel about Adam being recasted to another actor. Lee Winnell's a great writer. He went on to write The Invisible Man. Is connected with a lot of James Bond projects as well. I think The Conjuring or Insidious, man. This guy's connected to a bunch of horror. He's a legend. To change him, I don't know how I feel about that. And I don't know how that fits in the fact that we've seen Adam reappear in Saw 2. Well, really Saw 3. We saw him reappear in that movie. So, don't know how I feel about an actor changing in between, sandwiched between another actor. That's just going to be weird. So, I don't know how I feel about Adam being changed to an actor. I don't like that. And actually, having said all of that, this leads to the spoilery last comment before. No, there's actually, nope. I got another comment by DJTS1 1991 that's coming up after the potential spoiler. And I'm going to try to just get past this one. It's just in the comments, so be aware of it. I don't know if this is a spoiler. I have my doubts, though. And this is why I'm mentioning it anyway. So if you do want to hear why I think it's doubtful and why you shouldn't really be too worried about this one, keep listening. But if not, I would advise you just skip the next minute or so because I'm going to try to skim through this one pretty fast. So Linda Chat Zipana Gialto 2884. Damn, you got a long name. They show Adam is back, played by a new actor. Hoffman is still alive. And Amanda is really alive, never died. It's been confirmed. They will show how the killer in Spiral is connected to John Kramer. They show John Kramer talking to a 12-year-old boy in a park. That's young William Killer, end of Spiral. In the trailer, it shows Amanda taking off a pig mask. That's actually the end. When she reveals in present time, she's still alive. Reliable sources confirm. And then in the end, she writes, "You want to bet I'm right? I've been watching horror films since the 1970s and 80s, old school, good at guessing what happens." So that's why I just left that caveat. It could be a spoiler, but she did say I'm good at guessing, so I don't know. And a lot of what she's saying is something that we've all alluded to, a bunch of other people have alluded to, so I don't know if that's necessarily a comment. But Hoffman being alive, that's feasible. And hey, I wouldn't be mad at that one. Amanda being alive. Don't know. Don't know about that one. Man, I just don't know about that one. We've never seen the body though. And you know how movies could do that one. So you never ultimately saw the body. She could have woke up. Maybe she woke up in the ambulance on her way to the hospital. So after you saw that detective tell Hoffman that no one survived, well, that was preemptive. Too preemptive. Some people have survived, especially, Amanda. So hey, I don't know if that will work, but hey, it's feasible. Yeah, we definitely saw that there was a 12-year-old boy that very much looked like William. So that's cool. And then Amanda taking off the pig mask, that's actually the end when she reveals in present time she's still alive. The reason why I don't believe that one at all is why would she have that wig? Why would she have a wig matching the one from Saw 2? Why wear a wig? I don't know about this one. This could be just, a very confident theory that's just written in a very, and it's just written in a way that I thought could be spoilery. So I'll just let y'all know. So now let's go to DJTS 1991. Great video. Thank you for answering my question. No problem, my man. Appreciate you again, man. I have one smaller question that's been bothering me since I finished watching the movies again. How did Hoffman find out Amanda was at the clinic with Cecil? Did Kramer already know and tell him? Did he do some sleuthing? I Googled that one because of you. I appreciate that one, man. Never heard that one. I'm going to just say that when I'm talking to a lady, she's going to be like, oh, this guy's intelligent. Did he do some sleuthing and find out the truth? Did Amanda tell him? Did he overhear something? Between Saw 1 and 2 seems like the perfect opportunity for him to find out accidentally or on purpose. Unless Cecil was tricked into breaking into the clinic, I don't know, something is missing. After Hoffman was held hostage by Jigsaw, Hoffman must have went digging using his power as a detective for information on John Kramer. Hoffman's not just going to stay quiet and, not attempt to find some type of leverage. So I'm pretty damn sure that after he was held to blackmail, I'm pretty sure he never stopped trying to find some information on John Kramer. If you saw, John Kramer was already known as a civil engineer. Your boy was John Kramer's famous, so as an individual, before you talk Jigsaw and all of that. So he could have definitely, as a detective, used his power to, sleuth his way into that information. Jill's miscarriage would have made it on local news at the very least, so he could have found security camera footage of the event with Cecil. Actually, seeing Hoffman finding that information out would be awesome. I think that's awesome, DJTS. That's a great little Easter egg we will all love to see. To him to actually see the him searching for it or whatever in the background, that would be really cool. And I would too add, if he ever teased Kramer with some information, as Hoffman told Kramer, she will fail you pretty confidently. He used to question why he trusts Amanda. She will fail you. So now we're up to, actually the last comment is from Cinema of the Rainbow. We see you doing something you love. You're doing the right thing. Keep it up. Thank you very much, my man. The thing is, Saw, it's got to be, if not my favorite, tied with the MCU or tied with a whole bunch of, other favorites out there. But Saw, nothing's better than Saw for me. And I love talking just in general. So just putting those two things together, having fun with you guys has been really fun. And you guys have motivated me to make more content. And thank you for the comments. Keep them coming. I want to respond to them. So now I want to bring up that question that I alluded to earlier. Who's the smartest person Kramer either tested or adopted as an apprentice? A recent behind-the-scenes video dropped by the creators had an extremely interesting element of the actress stating that her character, Dr. Cecilia Pederson, is the smartest character that Jigsaw has interacted with. That is the purpose of the question above, but she may very well be right, especially if she is able to have a philosophical exchange of minds with Kramer. Let's look at some candidates for the smartest person Jigsaw has been involved with in some ways. Although Hoffman was, and I put was because we don't know if he's really dead or not, very intelligent, we never saw him disagree with Kramer. It's further proof he absolutely agreed with Jigsaw's teachings. Maybe he expressed his disagreements, but we haven't seen that on camera. His role was putting in grunt work and setting traps for law enforcement in the beginning, before his inevitable reign. So that's kind of my logic, that even if Hoffman had his disagreements, most of his early work was being blackmailed, and he was doing grunt work, setting up traps physically. He was like the construction worker of the crew. He was the muscle. And when you incorporate the fact that Hoffman put his hands, his own version of his own vigilanteism on the law with Gibson. And you saw he helped Rig avoid any court issues with Art Blank, so he definitely knew how to navigate what we view as the law. In a way, he could relate to Kramer in a way and agree with Kramer in a lot of his ways, adopted most of his teachings, mentioning Art Blank. As a lawyer, I presume he had many philosophical conversations with Kramer, maybe even regarding corruption, human behavior, and society at large. But that all happened before Kramer lost Gideon, so we only really saw Art and Kramer interact in the warehouse in the middle of their urban renewal project with Jiff there as a witness, and that wasn't a pleasant conversation. And obviously they weren't having philosophical conversations. John Kramer told that man, "Get the fuck out of here. And if you don't get the fuck out of here, I'm gonna slap fire out you, man." So we didn't really get to see Art Blank, go back and forth. The next one is very interesting. This is very interesting to ponder, as Dr. Gordon seemed to be impressed with Kramer's intellect, as Adam sarcastically suggested he sounds as if he likes him. Gordon was trying to view Kramer as a specimen without bias, but it gives me the inclination to think he would want to learn more from Kramer, not question the way he thinks. So Gordon being a fellow intellect, we can see Gordon helped progress the game quite a bit with his intellect and figuring things out. And his demeanor and his composure before he ultimately cracked towards the end. So even if he had his disagreements, overall he was in support of what he was doing. So we didn't get to see that. So I mentioned Detective Matthews. He's clearly a smart guy. He was a former detective. And I mentioned Matthews because his interactions with Kramer may be the most pivotal of the whole franchise. It was his opportunity to control his legacy, not the media. He spoke of his life's work and philosophies to Matthews, who called bullshit to most of it, chalking it up to being vindictive due to his cancer. Matthews almost sounds like the horror YouTubers who hate Saw. LOL. I'll add Matthews was clearly emotional, unable to try to reason with Kramer. So it's a big reason Kramer had the upper hand in that situation. If Matthews was doing what I'm referring to, or the actress of Cecilia Pederson's actress is referring to, as she's going to attack his work, philosophically, Matthews could only do exactly how he did to some of his victims, which damage his work. But he couldn't tackle John Kramer's work philosophically. He couldn't see doubt in Kramer's mind. Kramer had the intellectual upper hand on Matthews. But Matthews called bullshit on a lot of it, right? So it's like you combine someone who believes like it's all bullshit, like a Matthews, but with the verbatim of like a doctor, of like a William Easton, of a Dr. Gordon. Cecilia Pederson could be a great character. So now we move on to Amanda Young. So I know Amanda Young is going to be underestimated throughout all these other people, but she has the most interaction with Jigsaw, so she has to be mentioned. So it wasn't a matter of intellectual prowess; it was more of experience with Kramer specifically. So Amanda, she clearly disagreed eventually, but she was Kramer's main subject for a reason. They had a shared bond, but as the head of that relationship, Jigsaw had her under his wing. She told him he was a murderer to his face at the end of 3, but she internalizes her pains and feelings, so she kept it to herself until that moment. So again, another person who's wept under emotion, who's unable to communicate how they feel to Kramer, unless something's like dramatically forcing them to, like in the nip of a situation or in the middle of a situation, like you saw with Amanda. She wasn't telling Kramer that he was a murderer when he was alive, right? She didn't have that sort of power. She loved him, and she tends to her herself. So the context of why I'm even mentioning this, I'm mostly focusing on people who had conversations about Jigsaw's philosophies and who was even warranted, who's even able to do it in an effective way. So the next one is William Easton. This was essentially a battle of philosophies. So this is one of the more compelling examples, as Easton's life insurance policy failed to incorporate the survival instincts of people. Easton is a very statistically based insurance lead, so he doesn't see the monetary gain on banking on the survival instincts of people. He hadn't known of Jigsaw quite yet, so this is the context of the insurance industry, not Kramer's philosophies as a whole. So what I mean by that last line is he was talking to Kramer. They were having a philosophical conversation that was related to what he would later adopt as Jigsaw, but he wasn't Jigsaw quite yet. The public hadn't known the Jigsaw, and I don't know if he had got Cecil already, but he hadn't set any games in motion at that point yet. So they weren't really having a conversation about Jigsaw's philosophy. They were having a conversation with Kramer's, even though Kramer would not like me to call him Jigsaw, but I'm referring to Jigsaw, traps and games, and Kramer pre Gideon's death. So William Easton just had a completely different philosophy. That's a good example as well. Someone else you mentioned and obviously proved to be smart is Logan Nelson. Hard to say for sure on this one because we don't know how long Nelson was involved with Kramer, but getting those who harms others is something he can relate to as a man in the military. And he embraced his teachings later on. So eventually you did see with Jigsaw the movie, he adopted some of that mindset. So he wasn't in the middle of disagreeing with him and having a battle of wits with Kramer, especially regarding his actual life's work. Like say he wrote a paper on this. You are literally disagreeing with his life's work. Next up would be Dr. Lynn Desmond from Saw 3. I don't really remember her battling Kramer's mindset as she was worried about keeping him alive, but she was an extremely intelligent character, so she tried to get him at an emotional level, and she tried to, but I don't necessarily remember her tackling his mindset instead of, unless she like scoffed at it or like yelled at it or just didn't really take it in, but she wasn't having. She wasn't trying to. I don't think she had time. All she had time to think was, I got to keep this man alive. So she had to think of so many ways. She had to think of a bootleg surgery in a warehouse, trying to keep that sanitized. She had to think about so many different things, thinking about the tools, thinking about the ways to do it, thinking if she can actually do it without killing him. Yeah, so her brain was too busy focused on a whole bunch of things. She couldn't really sit back and, other than call him cruel and refer to him as an evil person, she couldn't really tackle what he thought detail by detail. Now we finally get to Dr. Cecilia Pederson, with the actress alluding to her battle in Kramer's work. Kramer appears to be present in the game of Saw X, so she will have the chance to speak to Kramer directly. Does she create doubt in the mind of Kramer? So I asked that because Kramer actually appears to be in the middle of the game. He seems to be at the top centerpiece, and they're below him. They can see him, and he can see them. So I presume there's a voice communication of sorts. He either presses a button, or he can hear them completely throughout the time he wants, and they can speak to him, and he can speak out to them through the intercom or whatever. So there will be moments where they can speak directly, and you haven't really seen victims have that chance, right? All they get is a tape, and now they got to win the game or it's over for them. But having Kramer, you hear the tape, you could scream at him, be like, "You what? That's bullshit. That ain't me, dog. That wasn't me. That was old me. I'm a new me, Kramer." So I believe that's the dynamic we're going to see. She's going to hear the tape, and she's either going to doubt what's written in that tape. She's going to say, "No, boom, 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 bop, bop, boop." She can speak to him on an intellectual level, depending on how strong her emotions can remain. So she could keep her emotions in check, unlike Lynn, unlike Matthews, unlike a lot of these examples, unlike even Amanda. If she's able to keep her emotions in check, she could tackle him verbatim, like hit him with the communication skills that he has. And that just depends how well she's written and how well of a doctor she is. Is she a real doctor, or she's just a really good spokesperson? Spokespeople can speak their asses also. There will be a combination of words that can potentially seep out in the mind of Jigsaw's philosophies. Maybe it altered it to a certain extent, and maybe she I don't know. We'll see. If she can stay calm, she can poke holes in his philosophies. And my final question with Cecilia Peterson is, was she bamboozled by her husband to figurehead the Mexico operation? Or is she in full operations of the scam? Could it be that she shouldn't be in the game because she really thought she was helping people? I don't know how she would think that if people haven't really shown better. But have you ever heard of the placebo effect? Just by sheer oddities, just by stating that they are the ones responsible to heal you. If people turn a miracle, who's going to get credit? Them. So maybe in those quote unquote situations, she took credit and she truly believed she was doing the right thing. But it was really her husband, the one alluded to in Saw 6, that was the one in charge of actually putting this in motion. But I don't know how that comes into full play, and that just made me really want to question who was the smartest character, because that's another great tease. Because man, that would be amazing just to see Jigsaw have a conversation with someone who can actually, give him some lit back, and not just a curse word or a name call. I'm talking about remains calm and says, "This is what you think? Let me tell you why all of this is a falsehood." Boom, 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 and bring these up and have legitimate points that can having Jigsaw double think. And that would just be a kind of a cool interaction and another fun video. I had another great time. Keep commenting. More content will come out. We got just a few more days to wait. For me, it's literally 5 more days because it's the 28th. The 28th for me. So I cannot fucking wait. So please keep commenting, comment, and subscribe. Peace.